I just have to acknowledge you all because I've been receiving your emails with your evidence from your savings challenge tips. So for those of you who are registered, you know exactly what I'm referring to. And you know that that is the secret sauce for us who have been inside of the work. So I want to acknowledge you all for what you've been doing inside of that. But even if we take a step back and think about the growth work assignment that we had to do for day 9, where we actually had to go in and look at the numbers to tally up how much we've actually spent. Let me ask you the question as to whether or not if that number was a shocker to you. While looking through some of the growth work assignments, some of you had some 3-digit numbers, some of you had some 4-digit numbers, and I'm pretty sure looking at it, it was probably a shocker. And I think when we look at our numbers in the aggregate like that, that's what really takes a huge mental awareness for us to be like, wow, I spent that much. Because oftentimes when you say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get this, I'm just going to pick up these little things, but we never consolidate the cost to see what that was in the aggregate. And that was the purpose of Day 9's growth work exercise, was to help you go back to your last holiday or to go back to your last special occasion and actually find out how much you spent. So if you are big and bad, if you are bold, if you are willing to share where you stand, if you are willing to share your number, if you about that life, only if, no pressure, drop what your number was. How much did you spend on the last occasion or for the last holiday, whatever one you chose? Only if you're willing to share. Only if you're willing to share. And there's a reason why it's important for not only you to honestly take ownership of the amount that you spent, but to also let others know too that, hey, I spent this much and it didn't feel good. Or it could be, I spent this much and I'm okay with it. Because you get to decide how you want to spend, when you want to spend, and the amount that you get to spend, because it's your resources in the first place. But let's talk about this for day 10. I want us to think about this. Looking at your number, reflecting on your number, reflecting on how much you spent for the last holiday or for the last special occasion. But I want you to think about looking at that number of how much you spent for whatever that last occasion was. Do you ever wonder, like, what did they actually do with what I gave them? Have you ever sat back and thought about, did they even want what I gave them? Have you ever asked yourself the question, do they even need what I gave them? And we talked a little bit high level about needs versus wants yesterday. I know I mentioned it and we're mentioning it here again, but we're going to have a whole nother conversation around needs and wants. So this is just letting you know that these are the types of questions that we should be thinking of. And not only that, allowing us to really see where the efforts of our dollars spent is actually going. So what does this mean? If you think about how much you spent, I see y'all dropping y'all numbers in there. If you think about what you spent, do you even think, or have you ever thought of the gift recipient and them appreciating what you have given them? I'm pretty sure, and you may be a victim of this too, you may be a culprit of this too, where you have received something or you have given something to someone, and what you've given to that person is somewhere in their closet. They never used it, they never touched it, they never opened it. They don't even think about you as a result of what you had given them. And it could be the same way with you. Someone has given you something as a gift, but you put it in a closet, you sit it on the corner, you don't even think about it at all. You go on about your life. You go on about your days. You go on to the next big thing that you want to get for yourself. Come on, can I step on a toe or two? I think I will. I think I will. But if we can turn this around a little bit to you as the gift giver and what it is that you decide and what you choose to give during the holidays or during special occasions, have you even thought about the satisfaction of what that gift was for them? Was it to satisfy a need? Was it to satisfy a want? Or was it to satisfy your own ego? for you to be able to say, I gave this or I did this, so that you can be able to get that pat on the shoulder, that hug, that feeling of love that I told you all on several occasions around how my insecurity caused me to spend in the capacity that I was spending in. We can tell on ourselves. If you want to be about that life and tell on yourself, by all means. But it's okay to call you out. It's okay to call you out every now and then. Sometimes you need to be called out. But thinking about the amounts that you spent, if it was $103, if it was $600, if it was in the thousands, what was the value add, and how did what you gave to that person better their life? So if you ever took the time to think about the gift that you gave and how it's being treated right now, think about one of the items on the list that you had given away. Think about the list from day 3 where you had to write out what you gave and why you gave it. And now thinking about how much you spent, because now you know your total amount that you spent for that last holiday season. Think about how it's being treated. Does that gift even remind them of you? What was the purpose? Are you an afterthought? Is that gift an afterthought? Come on. Do they wear it? Do they touch it? I see y'all in the room. Greeting everybody. I love it. Coach Sheena says, I have to admit my ego. Thank you for telling on yourself and letting me know that I ain't the only one that had an ego thing when giving gifts, because I needed to be able to feel that love that I didn't have for myself. So what we're going to do in day 10 is going to help you discover this, because we can ask ourselves all of these questions, but the only way that we're going to know the truth is if we go and find out. Because if you ask yourself a question, you could assume the answer, but that answer may not be true. And you could also be thinking about, oh, well, I don't know if they did it, or what are they doing with it? You may not even know, but today you're going to find out. Because I want you to have the opportunity to not only be able to hear what the impact of your gift that you had given to someone is, was, represents, and I also want you to tap into the feeling of how their response makes you feel. So you may be wondering, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? Okay, so I'm going to show you the growth work. Your growth work for today is this. So you are going to call each person who you bought a gift for last holiday season or special occasion, and you are going to ask them the following questions. It's just 4 questions. So if you need to write this down, you should have your journals anyway, so I need you to be jotting this down. So the first question that you're going to ask them, and you're going to call each person based on the listing that you made from day 3. Remember, what did you buy and why? So you're going to take that list, you're going to take those items, you're going to identify the persons of who you bought it for, and you're going to contact them. You're going to ask them, do they remember what you bought for them last year for Christmas? Do they remember it? You're then going to ask them, when was the last time that they used the gift that you bought them? And you're going to ask them whether or not if they still have it. And after you've asked them whether or not if they still have it, you're going to ask them, what value did the gift that I gave you actually bring to you? Just 4 questions. And as you hear their responses, I want to highly suggest and highly recommend that you have something to write with so that you can be able to jot down their responses. And then you can be able to reflect on how their responses made you feel. How their responses made you feel. Why is this important? This is important because not only do you need to see the value of what your gift giving is actually doing, you having that evidence of what it's actually doing, but you want to be able to know this because inquiring minds need to know. And those inquiring minds are your mind. Instead of you asking these questions in your mind for yourself and not really getting the answers. And also, your bank account is also an inquiring mind that needs to know. The bank account, the credit cards, whatever it was that you used to buy those things last holiday season or last special occasion. Because what you want to be able to do is know that the hard-earned income that you've worked for, the hard-earned income that you sacrificed for, all of those things that you put into place to allow to buy something for someone as a thoughtfulness thing, was it even worth it? Was it even worth it to the person who you had intended it to be a benefit to? Because in this holiday season, we are not going to be guessing anything. It's time to get to the facts. It's time to sit down and have the conversations. And how do you do that? Sit them down, call them up on the phone, even if it's your babies. Sit your babies down, sit your children down, sit your loved ones down, if they're in the same household with you, and say, hey, do you remember what I gave you last year? Do you remember what I gave you for Christmas? Do you remember what I gave you for your birthday? Do you remember what I gave you for Mother's Day? Do you remember what I gave you for Father's Day? What'd you do with it? Did you like it? When was the last time you used it? And these are specific. So I really want you to just focus on the 4 questions. Because first of all, it's probably going to come as a shocker because no one is going to expect you to ask them that. Number 1. Number 2, when you're having your conversations, it's all about the approach in which you do it. So when you ask your questions, don't do it in a way where you're aggressive and you're like, oh, what did you do with it? I just want you to be calm. I want you to ask it from a space of curiosity. Like, hey, I was just thinking, the holidays coming up. I was just thinking, do you remember what I got you? What'd you do with it? Like, what value did it bring to you? Why did you want it? This is your opportunity to find out from the horse's mouth. The horse's mouth instead of your own assumptions. So your growth work for day 10 is intended to help you to start introducing the conversations so that you can start exercising your intentionality. Because until you really know what people need and want or why they may want it or whatever the case may be, that's when you're really going to be in a space where you can be more comfortable and confident in the gift purchases that you make. Because some of you said in your growth work that you realized that you were spending during the holidays with no budget, unintentional spending, just going with the flow and just spending, not really calculating the cost and not really thinking about if it's a value add to the person who you're gifting it to. So because some of you may have several people on your list, and this is just a growth work assignment for one night, I don't want you to feel like you have to ask every single person on your list tonight. So what I want you to do, because you already have your listing of the things that you purchased for people from day 3, so it should be really easy for you to tag a name beside whoever that gift was for, and then make a list of those people. You're going to choose at least 3 to 4. And if you can't do 3, do 2 to 3. But aim for 4 if you can, because there's only 4 conversations, because there's only 4 questions to start with. And when you ask your questions, just allow them to speak. This is not the time for you to be having follow-up questions. This is not the time for you to be going into an in-depth interview. This is not the time for you to be chastising anybody. This is not the time for you to be getting an attitude and rolling your eyes, because you just need to hear what the recipient has to say about what you gave them. Because it's not about you in this moment. It's not about you in this moment. So try not to allow someone's response to trigger you into getting an attitude, to trigger you into being rude, to trigger you to rolling your eyes and sucking your teeth. So I just need you to hear them, and I need you to write down their answers. And then after that, you are going to have a personal inner reflection point with yourself. This is why you need a journal. I said this from day one. Have your dedicated journal for this process. Get your journals, have them ready, and begin to write about how it made you feel. So there is no rebuttals. There is no attitude. There's no snapback. You're just going to ask the 4 questions, and then you're going to thank them for giving you that response. Queen Divinity said, this is where my listening and my behavioral issues come into play. So Queen Divinity, I want to challenge you. Please exercise this strength. Because oftentimes, and I'm going to say something that may hurt some folks, but oftentimes we are so quick to get offended by something as opposed to someone actually telling us their truth, which would actually allow us to be able to meet whatever the need is and not go overboard in the first place. So it can be challenging. It may be hard for you not to respond because some of it is nature. It can be second nature. It just can be just how you are. But I want to challenge you to be mindful about that. Be mindful about how your posture is. Be mindful about how your shoulders may lack, or how your eyes may open up, or how you respond, because you want people to be willing to tell you this. You want people to be willing to tell you this, so that you can not only preserve your funds and not be spending money unnecessarily, but you could also get the person who you love, who you care for, who you want to be able to pour into, to actually be heard. Actually be heard. Because there are so many times when people receive gifts, and I have been one of those people who have received a gift as a child, and I'm like, what is this for? It's just like, oh, okay. And that's probably because the people who had given it to me didn't give me the opportunity to express, or they didn't get a chance to really know me because it wasn't thoughtful. They just wanted to be able to say that they got me something. There's a huge difference, and I need you guys to make this parallel. It's a huge difference between giving from the heart and then giving just because, so that you can meet the count or meet the quota or check off a name on a list to make sure that they got something. Find out what they really like. Find out what they really need. Find out. But the only way that you're going to be able to find out is if you give them an opportunity to talk, so that you can listen and receive and listen to them in a way where they won't feel like, I can't say what I want to say because I'm going to get chewed out, or I'm going to get tuned out, or they're going to have an attitude with me. You want to make sure that you're going to position yourself to be approachable. And having those behavior skills, having those listening skills is going to really not only support you in this process, but even support you in life and how you handle any type of situation. Not just conversations with the people who you love about what you bought them, but conversations with strangers, conversations on the job, conversations with your friends. having those crucial conversations. If you haven't heard of that book, you might want to pick that up. But that's more so about negotiation and stuff. But be willing to have the conversation. And your only job is to ask one question at a time and let them respond to each question without you expressing, rolling eyes, or trying to question and add on more questions. We ain't doing that because you don't have enough time for that. You only have enough time to ask 4 questions to up to 4 people on your list so far. Don't worry, you're going to have more time to get to the rest of them, but I want you to get up to 4 if you can. So anywhere between 3 and 4, identify 3 or 4 people, use those questions, and make sure that you journal their responses or jot down what you said, and then you can begin to write in your journal how you feel. If you want a rebuttal in your journaling process, you can by all means do that. But do not vocalize it. Do not express it, because right now, that's not your time. Right now, that's not your place. Right now, your only place is to listen. Why? Because you need to be able to check on your gift's impact. And the only way that you can do that is if you allow those who you have given gifts to be able to share with you. So just ask one question at a time. Let them rip, let them talk, let them say whatever they need to say, jot down a couple of things, and then journal about it in your own private time. It can be in person, it could be through a phone conversation, however you want to do it. But let your growth work be a blessing to you. Let your growth work be a blessing to you. Tracy Ann says, I will say that I have learned to value my money more now than just buying random, thoughtless gifts that no one will appreciate. That no one will appreciate. Definitely been there. And can you think about the impact of that cost? The impact of that multiplying and capitalizing based on the interest that's accrued if you purchase those things on credit? We're going to go there. We're going to go there, but we're going to start having the conversations first. Q Scott says, don't forget to meet us back on Saturday at 9 a.m. for the Grow With Me session. Thank you so much, Q Scott, for this reminder, because I've been forgetting to share with folks around the With Me session. So, every Saturday we have a live working session, and every other Saturday is dedicated to budgets, and then any off Saturday is dedicated to a different topic. And so with this Saturday being an off Saturday, that means we have a different topic, and our different topic for this coming Saturday is Grow With Me. So if you have time at 9 a.m. Eastern time in the morning, if you want to pop in and join us inside of the working room, I would love for you to be there with us. And you can work on whatever it is that you want to work on to help you grow, whatever that looks like. So thank you for that. Acacia says, I have grown. We are moving forward, not backwards. Queen Lisa H is in the building, giving everybody some love. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So as you exit the room, I want you to tell somebody that they are bold enough to have this conversation. At somebody as we exit out and say, you are bold enough to have this conversation. You know what I just realized, you guys? Oh my gosh, it's been such a busy day today, but you know what I just realized? Today, November 10th, is my 1-year anniversary of reaching 1,000 subscribers on the Demolisher TV. So for those of you who participated in the Vet Your Spending Challenge last year, then you are very well aware that this was the night that we passed the 1,000 mark because of none other than Mr. Tony Gaskins. Because Mr. Tony Gaskins had shared out one of my videos on the RICO method, I believe that's what it was. And those people came flooding over even more with the subscribes. Subscribe. And I didn't even know until after the fact. I was like, oh my gosh. So once again, I want to give a huge thank you and honor and tribute to Mr. Tony Gaskins for not only just his wisdom, the knowledge, and everything that he shares with us, but how he is just so authentic and he follows the spirit. He's just so obedient to the spirit. And I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate being able to reach that mark. We're coming up on 5 years of me having this YouTube channel, and I was stuck at 242 subscribers. Let me even recount that. It was 238 subscribers. And then a couple of days before Tony Gaskins came across my page, at that point, I was at 242. And I remember in that video, he said, I remember she only had 242 subscribers. And he said, I was listening to her. He was like, she got good content. She teaching people. Amazed. I never saw it coming. I never saw any of that coming. And to go from 242 subscribers to over 500 subscribers in a couple of hours, then to go from there to 900 subscribers within the next couple of weeks, and then with that last share, that last video share that he did took me across the 1,000 mark. I was like, I just can't believe it. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for not even just saying yes to me, but honestly, like saying yes to yourself. I mean, I appreciate the support so much. But at the end of the day, my only intention for starting this channel and delivering the content in the manner in which I do is because I wanted to be a resource for those for the information that I wish I had when I was 18, 19, 21, 25, and even 30 for that matter. So I want to be the space to help people not only cultivate a healthier relationship with their money, but for them to get the tools, for them to get the wisdom, and for them to get the truth. Because, I'm not afraid to share transparently all the stuff that I've been through, because I understand that everything that I've gone through is not for me anyway. Everything that I've gone through is intended to be a teaching lesson for somebody else, because somebody else is going to go through it and they're going to need evidence that it's possible to get on the other side. And so no matter what you may be going through, no matter what you may be fighting for, no matter what you may feel like you want to be able to do, but there's nothing happening related to it, there's no growth related to it, there's no change happening, you just have to keep going. And those were the exact words that Tony Gaskins said to me: keep going. And even though we may see that the growth over time is stagnant, it's still growth. So I have to appreciate the suddenly growth. And I also have to appreciate the stagnant growth. So I know that really wasn't related to helping you with conversations, but I just wanted to share that because I just realized that today was the 10th. And y'all know I'm very big on days. I remember everything. I remember when Tony Gaskins replied to one of my comments. I remember when I did the interview with him on his channel. I remember when he talked about that lesson about the mindset shift. I remember it all. I remember every single one of those dates, especially related to my YouTube journey, because I've been on this for a while. But I want to encourage you guys, if you have a dream, if you have a hope, if you have a desire, just honor your process. Honor your process to that goal and to that desire. Because what you may see somebody else experiencing may not be what you will be able to get results in, because that may not be the way that the Lord is blessing or calling you to be able to receive it in that way. I've shared on several occasions that I wanted to give up. 2021 was a hard year. And I was at my breaking point. Even at that point, I told y'all I turned all my videos off. I only had 18 videos visible until I got convicted on August the 25th. And what did I do? Unlock all of those videos like the Holy Spirit convicted me to do. And what immediately happened after that? Tony Gaskins ended up coming across my page and seeing that I had over 100 and something videos on there where there was only one view or no views. So just be obedient to whatever you are being called to do and do it in your authentic way. Let the Lord move how he needs to move through your process, through your growth. So if you want to join us on Saturday morning for the Grow With Me, by all means, feel free to pop in the room with us. I want to give a huge thank you to our moderators once again, Acacia and Q Scott, holding it down and doing their work, y'all. I'm trying to tell you, I get so excited when I see their growth work submissions because they are in it. They are in it to win it. Shout out to all of the DDTV family members as well. So if you see those who have the little badges and emojis beside their names, that means that they are DDTV channel members. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. And thank you also for supporting the channel through our Patreon book club. So feel free to join us there and join us in the DDTV fam. If you nonetheless come back tomorrow, 8:30, and I want to remind you that your financial prosperity awaits you. And so does your financial sanity. You already know what I'm going to tell you to do. And that's what? Get to work. All right. Bye. And make sure that you subscribe to Tony Gaskins' channel if you have not done so. Okay. And become a Blessed Tribe member. Put that in the budget. Put that in the budget. And we'll see you on that side. All right. Bye.
The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia Melone. The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia